Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to describe how 11th century onwards the Sultans of Delhi established their hold in the Indian subcontinent. Define and understand Tawarik. Compare the Khalji and Tughlaq administrations. Understand and learn about the struggles of women rulers in this period. Delhi Sultans. Introduction. Delhi gained the status of a capital for the first time under the Rajput rulers. In the middle of the 12th century, they were defeated by the Chauhans or Chahamanas. Under the Chauhan rule, Delhi became an important commercial center. Many Jaina merchants residing in the city got temples constructed. Dehliwal, as the coins minted in Delhi were called, had a wide circulation. Delhi transformed from a commercial center to a powerful capital, having widespread control in the subcontinent after the establishment of Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century. Fakir-e Mudabbir, one of the learned men in the 13th century, penned a circle of justice, interconnecting the king, the soldiers, and the peasants. According to the circle of justice, a king could not survive without soldiers, and soldiers could not live without salaries. Revenue from peasants was the source of salaries to the soldiers. Peasants, to be able to pay revenues, must be prosperous and happy. This could happen only if the king promoted justice and honest governance. Finding out about the Delhi Sultans. Other than inscriptions, coins, and architecture, information about the Delhi Sultanate is drawn from Tariq, that is singular, or Tawarik, plural. These are histories written by learned men like the secretaries, administrators, poets, and courtiers in Persian, the language of administration of the Delhi Sultans. The author of Tawarik resided in cities, mainly Delhi. They wrote histories in expectation of rich rewards from their sultans. They usually advised a ruler to maintain an ideal social order based on birthright and gender distinctions. Razia, the daughter of Sultan Iltutmish, became a sultan in 1236. Minhaji Siraj, a chronicler of the age, recognized Razia's superior merits over her brothers. Uncomfortable at accepting a woman as a ruler, he, along with other unhappy nobles, overthrew Razia in 1240. In his opinion, a queen's rule was against the ideal social order created by God. Razia, on all her inscriptions and coins, mentioned being Sultan Iltutmish's daughter. Contrarily, Queen Rudrama Devi, 1262 to 1289, of the Kakatiya dynasty of Warangal in modern Andhra Pradesh, had to pretend to be a man by changing her name on the inscriptions. Queen Didda, affectionately called so by her subjects, ruled Kashmir from 980 to 1003. Her title comes from the word Didi, meaning elder sister. These women fought against gender distinctions originating from social and biological differences. These differences were used to establish a man's superiority over a woman. Garrison to Empire 1. In the 13th century, the sultans did not extend their control beyond the garrisoned towns. Since the wilderness beyond was not under their control, they had to depend on trade, tribute, or plunder for supplies of utility. Having control over garrison towns in far-off Bengal and Sindh was a challenging task. Communication routes were easily disrupted by war, rebellion, or even bad weather. Mongol invasions and rebellion by governors at the slightest indications of a sultan's weakness were other challenges to overcome. The Sultanate just about withstood these challenges. The Sultanate consolidated and expanded markedly during the reigns of Ghiyasuddin Balban, Alauddin Khalji, and Muhammad Tughlaq. Initially, the wasteland along the garrison towns of the Sultanate was consolidated. The forests in the Ganga-Yamuna Doab were cleared, forcing the inhabitants to move out. The land was used for agriculture. Trade routes were protected and regional trade was promoted by setting up new towns and building fortresses. Garrison to Empire II. The second expansion took place along the external frontiers of the Sultanate. Military invasions in southern India began during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and reached their peak under the rule of Muhammad Tughlaq. The Sultanate armies captured elephants, horses, slaves, and plundered other precious material. By the end of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule, the Sultanate army had conquered a large part of the continent. They successfully overpowered the rival armies and took over a number of cities across the subcontinent. The Sultanate collected taxes from the peasants and did justice in its empire. Mosque or masjid in Arabic is a sacred place where Muslims prostrate in reverence to Allah or God. Muslims gather in a congregational mosque or masjid-e-jami or jama masjid to read prayers collectively. Quwat al-Islam, a congregational mosque, was built in the first city established by the Delhi Sultans. The city in chronicles is known as Delhi-e-Kuhna or the Old City. While Iltutmish and Alauddin Khalji enlarged it, three sultans, Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, and Firuz Shah Tughlaq, built its minar. Khalji and Tughlaq administration. To administer the vast Delhi Sultanate, the Delhi Sultans, especially Iltutmish, preferred special slaves called bandagan, purchased for military purposes. They would be given training to hold important offices in the Sultanate. Their absolute dependence on their masters made them loyal to the sultans. Other than bandagan, the Tughlaqs and the Khiljis also raised people of humble origins, often their clients, to important political positions such as governors or generals. This trend led to political instability. The slaves or patrons showed no loyalty to the heirs of their current masters. The new sultans had their own set of slaves. Hence, every time a new monarch took over, the old and new nobility would clash. The patronage and appointment of people of humble origin to important political positions drew criticism from the elite and the authors of Persian Tawarikh. They considered inappropriate to appoint low and base-born to important positions. Sultan Muhammad Tughlaq officials. The Khalji and Tughlaq kings appointed military commanders as governors of different territories called Ikat. Iqtidar, also called Muktis, carried out military campaigns and maintained law and order in their Ikats. Iqtidar collected revenues for providing military services. These revenues were used to pay to the soldiers. The state-appointed accountants supervised the collection of revenue by the Muktis to ensure that they only collected the state-prescribed taxes and only kept the required number of soldiers. The Delhi Sultans expanded their control to the hinterlands of the cities they ruled and forced the landed chieftains, the Samanta aristocrats and rich landlords under their authority. The right of local chieftains to impose taxes was abolished. Instead, they were made to pay taxes to the state. All chieftains and landlords discharged the service of revenue collection and assessment. The state imposed three types of taxes. 1. On kharaj or cultivation, which required a peasant to pay 50% of his farm produce. 2. On cattle. And 3. On houses. A large part of the subcontinent remained beyond the control of the Sultanate. It was difficult to control far-off areas like Bengal from Delhi. Following the annexation of southern India, the entire region became independent. The forested areas of the Gangetic Plains, ruled by local chieftains, could not be reached by the Sultanate army. Rulers like Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq could control these areas for short durations. Administrative challenges. Khilji. There were frequent Mongol attacks during the rule of Alauddin Khilji and in the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's. After Delhi was attacked by the Mongols in 1299 to 1300 and 1302 to 1303, Sultan Alauddin Khilji founded a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers and posted a standing army in Delhi. The produce collected as tax from the Ganga-Yamuna region was used to feed the soldiers. Alauddin fixed the prices of commodities in Delhi. Merchants not selling commodities at the prescribed prices were severely punished. Alauddin's administrative reforms earned him praises from the chronicles for keeping the prices cheap and ensuring enough supplies of goods in the market. He could successfully keep the Mongols at bay. Administrative challenges. Tughlaq. While Alauddin Khilji adopted defensive measures, Muhammad Tughlaq is known for his offensive measures. Tughlaq successfully defeated the Mongols when they attacked the Sultanate in the early year of his reign. Muhammad Tughlaq's confidence in his strong army and resources encouraged him to plan a counter-attack on Transoxiana. For this purpose, he raised a large standing army. Tughlaq, though an administrative failure, was first among the Delhi Sultans who planned an attack on the Mongols' territories. To safeguard the city, Tughlaq, instead of building a new garrison town, evacuated Delhi-i Kuhna and stationed his soldiers there. The residents of Delhi-i Kunha were resettled in Daulatabad, the new capital. This act was resented by his subjects. Apart from collecting produce from the Ganga-Yamuna Doab as tax, Tughlaq imposed additional taxes to meet the needs of maintain a large army. This, unfortunately, coincided with the famine in the region. It triggered widespread discontent. Unlike Khilji, Tughlaq did not control prices of commodities but did pay his soldiers in cash. For this, he used a token currency made of not gold or silver but a cheap metal. Not trusting the coins of new currency, people saved their gold and silver and paid taxes in token currency. Token currency could be easily counterfeited. It finally had to be recalled. Tughlaq's administrative measures were a total failure. The Sultanate in the 15th and 16th centuries. After the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. By this time, Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan and the entire South India had independent rulers governing flourishing states and capitals. These states, even if small, were powerful, well administered and prosperous. New ruling groups like the Afghans and the Rajputs were making appearance in this period. Sher Shah Suri initially was a manager of his uncle's territory in Bihar. He vanquished Mughal Emperor Humayun 1530 to 1540, 1555 to 1556 and took over Delhi eventually. He established the Sur dynasty in Delhi. During his 15 years, 1540 to 1555, rule, he borrowed, improved and implemented elements from Alauddin Khilji and proved to be an able administrator. Emperor Akbar followed the model of Sher Shah's administration when he eventually consolidated the Mughal Empire. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Delhi became an important city and the capital of the Tomara Rajputs kingdom only in the 12th century. The mid-12th century, they were defeated by the Chauhans or Chahamanas of Ajmer. With the Delhi Sultanate establishing in early 13th century, Delhi was transformed into a major capital controlling vast areas of the subcontinent. Tariq singular, Tawarik plural are valuable histories written in Persian, the language of administration under the Delhi Sultans. These were written by learned men. In the early 13th century, the Delhi Sultans could control only the heavily fortified towns occupied by garrisons and never the hinterland of the cities. They were also challenged from both outside and within by Mongols' invasions from Afghanistan and rebel governors whenever the Sultan weakened. The Sultanate's consolidation and expansion happened during the reigns of Ghiyasuddin Balban, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Military expeditions into southern India were carried out during the reigns of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Quwat al-Islam, the congregational mosque, was constructed in the first city, Delhi-e-Kunha, the old city built by the Delhi Sultans. For the administration of the vast kingdom of Delhi Sultanate, the early Delhi Sultans, especially Iltutmish, utilized their bandagan or special slaves purchased for military service. Many elites and the authors of Persian Tawarik criticized the Delhi Sultans for appointing the low and base-born to high offices. The Khalji and Tughlaq Sultans also appointed military commanders as governors of various territories called Iqta. Their holder was called Iqtadar or Mukti. In exchange for their military services, the Muktis collected the revenues of their assignments as salary. As the Delhi Sultans brought the hinterland of the cities under their control, The land chieftains, the Samanta aristocrats, and rich landlords were forced to accept their authority. Under Alauddin Khilji, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its own control. After Delhi was attacked by the Mongols twice in 1299 or 1300,